All right, so everyone is aware that we're recording tonight, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I will be recording this and sending it out for those who join later after the actual event. So thanks very much, Mark, for coming out today. Appreciate you taking the time to put together a meaningful presentation for us. Emily, it's great to see you. Joe, Akshay, Shankar. When we can see you, we'll be able to say hello again. We all had some trouble. I had to reboot my computer. Mark had to reboot his computer. And so we'll see if we can get through this without any major technology snafus. But it's my great pleasure to welcome us all to the first of the 75th anniversary of AITP. So let's give ourselves and those that came before a round of applause. Here's 75. All right. So what does that mean, right? It's an incredible experience. Now, most of us have not been around since this thing started. Matter of fact, started in 1951 as the National Machine Accountants Association. Hello, Bersabe. Did she make it in? Hang on, I'm going to try to let her in again. Oh, she came in and then she left. So we'll see if she comes back. All right. So anyway, so 1951 is when it started. Then it became the DPMA. I was actually speaking to one of my CIO friends here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he was a part of DPMA when he was in college and was trying to understand what AITP was. So he didn't know what it was. So that's kind of one of the things that we're going to have to continue to do, which is to educate people as to what AITP is and all that good stuff. Then in 1996, it became the Association of Information Technology Professionals, AITP, which is the way that I knew it when I started getting into contact with them in about 2008. I was doing SIMS RLF and I would go speak with them every year at their chapter here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area when Bill Fly and Deborah Lovell were leading the chapter here locally. In 2019, we created the Association of Business Technology Professionals. CompTIA had taken over AITP and they de-emphasized the professional chapters. So we went from some 66 chapters. I think at this point we're back up to about 13 because in 2024, it was actually April of 2024, CompTIA gave us the brand back. So we being me and multiple others from the national board who have been working behind the scenes, got it started from a national perspective. And then AITP Lone Star started in May of 2024. So we've been around a couple of years, just reestablishing the brand. I like to have a lot of fun with this 75 years thing. So it's 75 years of IT legends. AI level unlocked. So for those of you who are gamers, you'll understand what that means. My kids and I just got to level 18 on EDS. If you've ever played EDS, I affectionately call it Kill Aliens. But anyway, when you unlock a new level, it's a very exciting thing. Our agenda tonight is going to be the welcome that I've just done, introduction of AITP Lone Star, which I've already done, a brief introduction of Mark Urbis, who I've known. Mark, what year did you come to the RLF? Was it 2002 or 3?
I believe it was 2003.
3, okay. Yeah, so I've known Mark since he was a budding leader in the IT organization at Radio Shack. For those of you who know that storied brand, he was part of the team there. It was an extraordinary company, Mark. I mean, back in the day.
It was at the time.
Yeah. Who was your CIO back then?
Evelyn Follett.
That's right. And she had both HR and IT, which I think was pretty extraordinary. And we're going back, into the 2000s. So good stuff. Lots of fun. So I'll do a little more introduction in a minute, and then we'll do Q&A. And Mark is of the same mind as me. It's going to be a kind of an interactive presentation. So he has a data-rich set of slides that he's going to share today. And so you'll be able to ask him questions as we go, and that'll be a lot of fun from an interactive perspective. We'll do a little bit of chapter business at the end, and then I'll do the good night and Godspeed, which is my leaving for that. This year in December, actually, Emily had joined us probably in about October, Emily?
May.
Was it May? Goodness
Yes.
gracious.
Yeah.
So anyway, so last year was really a recreation year. We got a new website set up thanks to Shankar, and Emily worked quite a bit on getting it rebranded and kind of rebranding AITP. So I wanted her to walk through the event framework for 2026, primarily because she put it together, and I think it's brilliant. So Emily, what do we have in store for this year?
Thanks, guys. Great to be here. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to our 75th year. So when we started reimagining what AITP was Lone Star was going to be going forward, I really took a deep dive into our past as well as what we wanted to be for the community here in the DFW area. And after a lot of discussion with the board, I was able to kind of come up with this new refreshed brand. We have a new logo, as you can see. We're going into our 75th year, and we actually have a 75-year logo that goes along with that you'll start to see. We have taglines that establishes where we've been and where we're going. And then we're also focusing on themed content that's going to go out on a weekly basis. You should see posts from us on LinkedIn 3 times a week going forward. We have blogs posted on our website even now. We just have a few, but we'll continue to work on that. Some of those will be guest posts. Some of them will just be articles from myself and some of the board members. We've all been in technology and even marketing for a long time, and we've all had storied careers. And so we definitely have some insights to share ourselves. But as far as the events, I came up with a monthly theme. So each month is a different theme for, let's say, cybersecurity, AI, blockchain, things like that throughout the year. And so you'll see that all of our content during that month is focused on that topic. Our events that we're going to have are also focused on those same things. So the speakers that we have, just like Mark, who's here today, will reflect the same knowledge base and the information that we're sharing online. So we've got Mark this month, and then we'll have 12 per year. Our monthly events that will be virtual, presented in the same format as we're trying to work out the kinks tonight. But they're the second Thursdays of every month. So please, if you're here and you're new, bookmark that on your calendar. But the other thing to remember is now you can go to our shiny new website and you can go to our events page, and we have our events posted there. You can RSVP to them. The meeting links are in there, and it gives you a reminder the day of. Now, today was a little jicky because we needed to change some things around. So you probably got some emails from me just a few minutes ago, making sure that you were online okay. But just know that we'll have all of those kinks worked out. But we're much more streamlined. You can put this on your calendar so it reminds you we're not going live on LinkedIn anymore. So we're going to have some very new technology and new processes and procedures in place. Also, we're going to try to have quarterly events that are done by AITP, usually sponsored by a few of our partners that we have as well. So stay tuned, make sure you're paying attention to LinkedIn for those as well. And then we're also hoping as we get sponsors and more members in, is that we can facilitate bigger events for you guys. So the more that you attend, be sure to tell us what you're interested in. We're going to weave that into what we're doing going forward. But we're hoping that this year we'll be able to have a gala in October. We're also looking to pour into students as well as our CIOs and CTOs, and they can mentor the students. We're looking at the Texas Talent Pipeline, having something to do with talent and helping people with jobs and mentorship. And then we're also relaunching and getting more awareness on campuses here. So UTD's right in my backyard. We've got uh, the University of North Texas here. We have SMU. We have TCU over in Fort Worth. So we're going to focus here locally, but then we hope to expand through Texas as well. So we're very, very excited about what we have going on, and we're excited about having you here. Please bookmark those second Thursdays online. It's easy. Just join us even while you're eating your dinner. We know virtual is easier. And then make sure you're following us on LinkedIn so that you can see any of our other events as well. But Emily Bell Wooten, I'm also a partner and sponsor for my consulting firm, EBW Consulting, and I've been helping to rebrand this year. So we're excited about year 75. Our tagline is 75 years strong, empowering the people who power technology.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Emily. You've done a great job already, and we're looking forward to continuing to grow the chapter. Now, for those of you who will be here for a little while, after Mark has spoken and we have some Q&A, we will go back and do a little bit more information regarding the website and things. So if you want, write down www.aitplonestar.org. I don't have it on this slide, but it's coming up later. But just in case you don't stay for the whole thing, wanted to make sure that you know where our website is, and you can join as a member there. There are multiple levels. Students are only $30 a year. Professionals are $97 a year. So it's pretty inexpensive, but powerful. And as you'll see when Joe speaks later, we have a Work Ready Academy, which is sponsored by AdvancedNet Labs, that has almost 10,000 classes in it. Bunch of certifications, and we'll eventually get some or certs, and then we'll get some certifications going too. So you'll hear from Joe on that later. All right. I will point out too, this holiday party that we had in December was at Il Caprese, which is in Grapevine. It's a great central place between it reaches all the way from Plano to Fort Worth. So it's in Grapevine in a great location. So hopefully we'll be there in March, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. All right. So as we said, as I was introducing Mark earlier, I think you were a senior director or something like that.
I was.
Back in that time frame, 2002, 2003. Continued there for a little while, and then you became the CIO at restaurant company, correct?
Not the CIO. I went over to Carlson Restaurants, who owns TGI Fridays and Pickup Sticks. We had two brands.
Right. So that kind of launched your restaurant kind of leaning focus. And then now, because you're a fractional CIO, you do a lot of startups or restarts, I guess, for established brands in the retail space. What are some of the brands that you've worked in that everybody would know?
The brand that everyone would know most recently is Cavender's. I was at Cavender's for 5 months. Prior to Cavender's, Smoothie King for 5 months.
Nice. And California Pizza Kitchen.
5 years at California Pizza Kitchen in Los Angeles.
Yeah, as the CIO there. So, and that was something of a commute, right? You were there.
I did. I had apartments in LA, and my home is here in Southlake. So I commuted for 5 years.
Yeah. And Mark is one of the top 10 of our new members too. He actually joined the chapter without me even having to ask him 10 times. So we really appreciate that. In addition to being a leader in his organization back when we met and going through the leadership class that I did with SIM, the Regional Leadership Forum, Mark actually was the president of the SIM chapter here locally for a few years as well. So he has always been a giver. He just disappears from time to time when he goes on a 5-year gig in Southern California. So we're excited to have you back, Mark, and looking forward to your sharing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to ask you to share yours. And I think you want everybody to wait until you've set up the first slide before we do questions, and then we'll make it a little more interactive, right?
Yeah, and I'll start sharing in a second. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. My goal is to make this interesting and engaging, so I will pause, but to clarify, just don't hold back, questions, whatever. And if you want to reach out to me after the presentation, I'll be glad to continue the conversation. In the emails, Mike mentioned Mark Urbis, SMB CIO. What does that even mean, SMB? And so for context, to me, it's small to medium business. Really, an SMB has annual revenue that doesn't exceed $2 to $3 billion. Most companies have less than $1 billion in annual revenue. And that's really the space that I like to play. I'm not the big company CIO. I'm not a Fortune 50 CIO. I really enjoy the smaller space. I tell people it's a lot harder to be small than to be large. And so for those of you who are of like-sized companies, I feel your pain and I understand. The ideas I'll be sharing aren't revolutionary, but they do apply to companies of all sizes. It's just that within the SMB market, in my opinion, like I said, they're uniquely challenged. We have all of the same issues as large enterprises with data privacy, PCI compliance, cybersecurity, technical debt, all that stuff. But we oftentimes lack the financial and the people resources. And many of these companies don't realize what it really takes to deliver effective and efficient IT services in the current world of constant change and innovation. So they make do with less while expecting more. It can be challenging sometimes to have the conversation with the CEO, even when I come in as a consultant, because who wants to debate the CEO? And so for me, the first step is opening that honest dialogue with the leadership team to gain an understanding of their goals and their challenges. And then it really begins with an honest view of the IT organization and how their time is currently being spent, followed up by a deeper dive into the technology spin of the company. And so I will start sharing now. We'll get into it.
So for context, as you walk into a place, these are all the things that you're looking at and considering while you're having these conversations with the leaders, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so this is what I call my little IT framework. This is how I view the IT world. Hopefully you're seeing this slide.
We are.
Okay, perfect. For me, this is really a learning time for my conversation with the CEO, because this really hit home. I was at a smaller customer and having this conversation, and this was the first time that they kind of understood the breadth of IT. And so that was just a kind of a bellwether moment for me. It's like, wow, I need to do this everywhere I go. And so I really talk about IT leadership. Look, here's what your IT leader should be doing. It's not just about, sorry about that, not just about choosing solutions. It really is strategic planning and alignment. You have all of the cybersecurity compliance that the CIO is responsible for. We have budgeting and cost management, decision-making, leadership, team development, ongoing innovation, and proof of concept pilots, ensuring standards and policies are documented and maintained. And we have vendor and partner management, contract negotiation, and SLA management. Those things have to happen, and it's not going to be your maybe an IT manager that may be on site. Many of my customers have IT departments of less than 50 people, and that number includes third-party organizations, contractors, managed service providers, soup to nuts. And so this view right here is for kind of a generic retail company where I have leadership at the top with groups underneath, right? for your store systems and supply chain, corporate systems, which are all of your internal core applications, HR, payroll, finance, data and digital architecture, which is kind of a new categorization, which includes all of your data warehousing, your integrations, middleware, analytics, maybe an intranet site. It could be the marketing support for an e-com site, depending on how the organization it deals with e-commerce. Sometimes that's part of marketing. Project management. Whether or not there's a PMO, there are project management tasks that will be necessary, quality assurance, and then your core ops and infrastructure. So some companies are more complex, but this framework tells a pretty simple story with IT leadership at the top, supported by the core run the business towers. Really, you're running the business with your store systems, your corporate systems, and your PMO and QA, really starting to enable the change functionality of transformation. This framework shows or demonstrates kind of how IT creates value with strategy, daily ops, data, project delivery. It's not just about keeping the lights on. And each box here represents a promise to the business. Systems are going to be available, they're going to be secure, integrated, and continuously improved. And then I use this as a heat map. What is strong today? What is fragile or underfunded? And where is our greatest risk or opportunity? And I'll show how that works in a few slides. It's not complicated. It just takes a little time and thought. Starting at the top, when I talk about leadership with them, I emphasize that leadership is accountable for strategy, innovation, cyber, budgeting, vendor management, not just about making technology choices. I call out the need for succession planning and team development as critical for future growth. And I try to connect the framework boxes to the IT career paths. If you're in a small organization and you don't have an IT career path, I have a small one that I've pulled together. I've used it for years. And how I use it, I've used it mostly with HR recruiters. HR recruiters in the retail and hospitality space are great in hiring employees for restaurants. They're terrible in terms of recruiting IT people. They just don't understand the differentiation. And so I have this very simple career pathing. It demonstrates how people can come into the organization with skills, how they can laterally move with the organization, and it shows the differentiation of skill sets. So I tie that back to the framework as well. And that usually helps once we get into that next conversation of, okay, what do I need from an organization? Run the business functions. We have the basic stuff. This is retail focused. Don't know if I really need to talk about this much more, but I tailor these frameworks for my customers. Some customers may only have 4 or 5 columns. Some may have 6 or 7, depending on their current IT organization and their level of maturity and what they're really managing internally. This is a framework that I used at Smoothie King and at Cavender's. They were a little bit larger. Any questions before I jump on?
Yeah, so you said that you customize this. Are retailers looking at AI for anything, Mark? Because and I'm guessing that it would be in the data and digital architecture arena. Is that where you would have it likely?
They are asking about AI, and the CEO at Cavender's was very supportive of AI. We had set up a enterprise chat license for 50 people, and he was using it on a daily basis. He wanted people to start using it, playing with it. Business users were using chat, learning how to write better SQL code to do data analysis. And so, we had coders that were doing things in it, trying to use it. Some people were just playing with it. Companies, though, it's still fairly immature unless you're a much larger organization and you're building your own LLM, right? And so I would say retailers and restaurants, they're primarily using it for better data analytics. but that's
Mhm.
assuming you have the right data,
Data.
and it's normalized, it's organized, and it's not just a giant data lake of garbage.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. This is a slide that we're gonna use this as a discussion point. This is for a restaurant company. It's a little bit simpler, but once again, it's similar, but a little bit smaller. This was a real example from one of my past engagements, and the company will be nameless, but it was a $500 million concept. Okay, so it's a healthy
Wow.
company, 500 million in annual revenue, being managed with an IT group of only 2 individuals. That's it, 2.
Wow.
No outside contractors or consultants. And this company intended to double in size over the next 3 to 5 years. They wanted an IT strategy from me. They wanted me to look at their current footprint, make an assessment of it, and then they wanted my thoughts on organizational needs. So this is how I looked at their organization and kind of said, these are all of the things that your company needs to do. It's doing, and in many cases, it's just not doing very well.
May I make a
So,
comment about that?
yes, ma'am.
I cannot believe that organizations that large really only have 2 IT professionals, especially with all of the cybersecurity issues and the necessary tasks that are needed with that. And then to Mike's point about AI being a part of this component, it's very insightful for you to tell us that they are still very immature when it comes to AI adoption, when the rest of the world is speeding forward. Because I'm working with small businesses, meaning small businesses. And it sounds to me like they are trying to use AI more than these businesses are, which is interesting.
No, they're trying to use it, and people are using chat, they're using Perplexity, they're using Gemini, on their own time. But when companies start using AI, I mean, you'll see more of it being used, agentic AI,
Yep.
chatbots, right? But when you start using it, you have limitations. There are notifications you have to give to customers if you're using it to collect their data. If you're using it for internal use or for serving up content to your employees, you need to make sure that the data you're feeding the AI agent is complete and it's correct. As an example, if an employee wants to look up HR policies for I'm taking a leave of absence or I'm pregnant, what do I do? And if you serve up the wrong information, you can be held liable.
Mhm.
And so companies really need to manage their data and how they're using AI. It's a fantastic tool, but it's just growing faster than people can take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's also the security risk of people using it in their own time is what information that they're dumping into a non-monitored, non-closed, walled AI can be a difficult spot. It, of course, leaves companies very vulnerable. So I'm sure you're probably having to deal with that.
No, you're exactly right. And at Cavender's, that's one reason we wanted to make sure they signed up for one of the licenses. We wanted them to use our enterprise account so that information was not going into the public LLM. So at this restaurant company, I did the red, yellow, green on all of the functions, and I'm serious. 2 people. This is not unusual. Organizations that start as family businesses, they grow over time. They hire an IT person, sets up the land, starts building out PCs. They have 1 restaurant, 2 restaurants, 10 restaurants, 15 restaurants. They hire another person. All of a sudden, they're a real business, but they still are. They're struggling, but they don't understand it. They start building out HR groups. They build out finance teams, but they don't invest in IT because they've become accustomed to a very low level of spend. And so when it's not unusual, it's not shocking at all. And retail and hospitality are very, very cheap. Your IT spend in total is typically under 1% of total revenue.
Wow.
And so when you look at financial services, healthcare, some other industries, you're looking at 2, 3, 5, 10% of annual revenue being spent on IT. You won't see that within the restaurant or hospitality retail space. So I go through my own assessment. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do a red, yellow, green with my opinions. And this is the start of the conversation, right? I talk about, where do they really have their challenges? Here on this particular slide, there was really no IT leader. And so I just noted the things that aren't happening at all, the things that are kind of happening, but they really need help. In green, because this was a two-man IT shop and they both had an MSP background, that's where most of the good coverage was. It was in there. They were pure Google shops, so they were doing a great job maintaining their Google account admins, their phone, VoIP administration, system and cloud admin. That was all in Google Workspace. New restaurant openings, they had a good vendor for handling the cable, the phone circuits, all of the stuff that gets installed in a restaurant that supports the technology. It's your low voltage cabling. They had outsourced their point of sale and their kitchen display system to Toast. And so that was all covered pretty well. But there were a number of applications, though. The service desk, help tickets from the restaurants were coming in on Google Chat. They would come in on emails. They did not have a true ITSM service desk tool. They were not writing any KB articles. No knowledge base was in existence for any kind of repetitive correction. And so this two-man team, they were spending most of their time with end-user computing, setting up PCs. And so when I demonstrated this, like, look, there's all of these things these guys need to work on. And the question from the CEO is, well, we were hoping our manager here, we might be able to grow him into a director position. And I said, he's a great guy. He'll have a good career, but right now he's so unskilled in the rest of IT because he's only come from an MSP background. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. And you really need to bring in an IT leader. It doesn't have to be a CIO. It could be a director level or maybe a VP position. And we could talk about more if you're interested on how I kind of frame that conversation. But you need an IT leader. You need to address, you have a finance team that's looking for intelligence reporting. There is no data warehouse. They were not yet pulling in basic information like point of sale data for same store sales or being able to analyze, what was selling, what were the favorites. They couldn't analyze their labor by restaurant. And so that's where, this assessment then launches into what do we need to do to fix it? What are some ideas? Oop, wrong direction. So I talked about, okay, data and BI. You really need to add at least one person within IT who can code, who can develop APIs and can bring in data from the point of sale. Toast has a very elaborate API structure, but it's a pretty complicated data model. You're going to need help there. And you really need to bring in a full-time dedicated end-user computing person for the corporate office. These guys here are wasting too much time on just serving people, helping them with their laptops. Furthermore, from a cybersecurity standpoint, this place was a train wreck. They would let employees bring their own personal laptops to work and connect to the corporate network because some employees didn't like the corporate desktops. They wanted to use their own laptops that were maybe more powerful. There was no mobile device management. They did not have any endpoint protection on the laptops. The CEO who first set up the Google account, his email address was the Google super user admin login credential. So there was a lot of low-hanging fruit that just needed to be addressed. And this is a $500 million business, right?
That's something else.
So it was a lot of fun. So I red, yellow, green, and so now I'm introducing blue. I'm saying, okay, with the data BI role, here are the specific functions that will be strengthened and addressed. And with your help desk EUC headcount, you're going to address some of the operations and infrastructure. And what that's going to do for you, it will strengthen some of these other areas by freeing up the 2 people that they currently had, and to let them work on, we had some network admin, firewall, internet circuit challenges, capacity planning for infrastructure was non-existent. Vendor management needed to be strengthened. The new restaurant opening process, they had a process, a very extensive list in a spreadsheet, but no one was really managing what happens if one task is late, what's the impact on the rest. There was no project management. So once I had this conversation and walked through these slides, then the realization is, yes, we do need to beef up the IT staff and hire some people. Any questions? Okay.
I'm still shocked that a $500 million company can work with 2 people. It's just, I mean, were they just lucky? I mean, honestly,
from a cybersecurity standpoint, they were lucky.
Yeah.
From the point of sale with Toast, the good thing about Toast, they manage your hardware, and so you really don't need a team to support hardware, because POS terminals and the back of house servers fail all the time. Handhelds fail, printers fail, ticket printers in the back of house fail, kitchen display monitors fail. But Toast handled all of that. But really, for a chain of this size that wanted to grow, and with some of the cybersecurity, just low-hanging fruit, it was shocking to me. Just there was basic hardening that needed to happen immediately. My comment to the CEO, I said, "You're such a good brand. You are internationally known. It's only a matter of time before you become a target, right?" So the next thing I do with them, I say, okay, we've talked about, some areas where I'd like to, consider adding some headcount and maybe augment with some third-party consultants for some quick wins on some projects. But here are how your current 2 people are spending their time. They're, between the 2 FTEs, they're spending about half of an FTE with new restaurant openings, a fraction of time trying to figure out data. And really, the one guy, he was literally using ChatGPT, trying to figure out how to write APIs or ingest data into Google's big data model. They were mostly spending their time between the 2 of them on help desk and end-user computing tasks, with a very tiny amount of network admin and system admin with their cloud services. The good thing, they were a pure cloud environment, so they did not have on-prem hardware,
servers, yeah.
a colo facility, none of that. But the downside was they also didn't have data backed up anywhere else. They were purely reliant on Google and Toast for all of their data. And so they had challenges, and they had no BI reporting at all. They had never created a budget for any department or business function, including IT. So my suggestion, I said, look, for 2025, you need to add an IT leader. You need to bring in one person who is going to fill kind of that DBA, BI analyst role, who can work and help organize the data and work with the finance team, because there were some smart people in finance that were well-versed in Power BI and could write good reporting, but you needed someone in IT. And on the help desk, we need one full-time person who only works on end-user computing. We need to outsource the help desk to a third party. Made some good recommendations on fairly inexpensive companies that can do that and support the restaurants. And so I said, for next year, you're looking at adding 3 people, maybe kicking off a couple of projects. You really need to have someone to come in and review your network, look at your network security and your firewalls, do a complete security assessment. They had never gone through a security assessment. They were PCI compliant, but they were small enough where they could fill out a self-attestation questionnaire. And so it was a little disingenuous. I said, you need to shore that up a little bit. And I would recommend you bring in a third-party group to jumpstart your BI and data warehousing. And so I found a couple of good Southern California firms for this one company because they were based in Southern California. This is not California Pizza Kitchen, by the way, to help kick off that process. They had experience with Toast and restaurants. And so I thought that would be a good win. And I said, and then once your IT leader is found, then in 2026, you can make some decisions. You don't have any internal development staff to really to get in and do more with the restaurant systems. You really need to look at how do you want to support finance? How do you want to support HR and some of the other business functions? They also had a commissary operation that would prep ingredients, and that had some specialized software. They were looking to open up additional commissaries as this brand wanted to expand across the country. As well as cybersecurity, I suggested they hire a SIEM, someone who is monitoring the alerts, can take action autonomously. They needed to deploy MDR, EDR software because there was none of that within the organization. And so the point really here is when you have these conversations, even though there are significant weaknesses and challenges, they can't go from 0 to 50. There has to be a ramp. And I felt this was a reasonable ramp. Let's add a few resources in 25, have a couple of assessments take place. Let's develop some basic BI reporting, get a data warehouse activity underway, and then address it in 2026 as you continue to grow, with the goal of sometime in 2027 of having a 6 to 9 person IT team. And I felt this was very reasonable. I painted a picture of what that organization might look like, including third-party assistance. So I'll stop here for a second and see if you have any questions.
Sure, you're about to get to this, but did they adopt your policies and move on them?
They did. And so initially the CEO wanted to bring in a director. And I said, okay, you can do that. I said, here are the challenges you'll have with bringing in a director level, because it's going to be hard to find a good current manager or senior manager who's looking for a promotion opportunity into a director role, who's going to have the breadth of all that you need. Mm-hmm. But you might be able to find someone who's older, they're later in their career cycle, maybe they're not looking to be a big VP or CIO, and they're just looking for a good organization. This brand is phenomenal. They are super profitable, just a great brand to work for. And so working with the HR lead, we finally convinced the CEO that it needed to be either a senior director or a VP level position. It's funny, they ended up hiring a CIO. He had just left a grocer on the West Coast. His job was going to be moved internationally. And so they actually hired a CIO who was later in his career cycle. But once again, this brand was going to double in size, super profitable. Anyone would want to work for this brand. And so they did do that. We kicked off a search for a help desk person. We kicked off a search for a one BI individual. And we did, we put out RFPs for a security, kind of cybersecurity review. And we kicked off an RFP for a BI project and selected a vendor and started that project before I left. And so that all happened within a 2-month time frame of me being on site in California.
Very cool. So talk a little bit, Mark, about your personal transformation, because even when you were at Radio Shack, you had quite a few people working for you, and you were able to get some big projects done, right? national scope, big footprint of restaurant or not restaurants of locations. How did you get so pragmatic? Because that's I mean that's what this for me it screams pragmatism, right? It's like there's idealistic, which is what most CIOs would come into a situation like this and think, oh my God, you need 20 people tomorrow, and all of these things have to be done immediately. At least I would think that. So how did you calm yourself into that type of a size of organization?
Yeah, it's funny you say pragmatic because I consider myself a pragmatic CIO.
Yeah.
Um, Part of it I think is my age. I'm old, right? My parents were children of the Depression, and
Mhm.
the way I was raised, and my father was a small businessman. Um, from a very early age, he shared with us where we were financially. We knew when we would make money, when we were not making money, how we made money. And so I had a pretty good understanding of small businesses. At Radio Shack, we had a large organization. We had over 500 people in IT.
Mhm.
It was very large. We had 7,000 corporate owned stores, another 2,500 franchise locations, big organization. I had the corporate systems group, which was all of the applications except for the point of sale and our website, and a team of 150 people.
Yeah.
When you have 150 people, you can do a lot of stuff. It's easy to carve off 2 or 3 people and have a skunk works project. Uh, but yeah, so at Radio Shack, one thing I do want to say though, my personal transformation, I started as a programmer out of college with a
Mhm.
degree, a bachelor's in MIS, and worked for Tenneco Corporation for about 7 years. Moved to Minneapolis, worked for Northwest Airlines for 4 years. Moved back to Dallas, worked for a combination of pharmaceutical wholesalers. First it was Foxmeyer. We were acquired by McKesson Corporation. McKesson, large pharmaceutical chain, which is at the time based in San Francisco. They have since moved their corporate office to Dallas. And but it was at Foxmeyer where I got involved in SAP. When I
Mhm.
left Foxmeyer, I joined Radio Shack, and I had that ERP background. And at Radio Shack, they were using PeopleSoft, and so it was very easy to transition into managing a PeopleSoft environment after having gone through multiple SAP implementations and upgrades.
Sure.
And when I left Radio Shack after 8 years and joined Carlson Restaurants, I went and had a much smaller team, but instead of just applications, I was now over infrastructure and operations and applications and a QA team. And so it was a smaller company, but a larger job. But
Sure.
now I was in restaurants and dealing with the cheapness of restaurant companies. And so really learned that it's about finding cost appropriate solutions. Even at Radio Shack, there were times that I can remember one example where there was an HR vendor, and oh, it's only $1 per user per month. I said, we have 90,000 employees and we hire 10,000 employees just for Christmas. I said, we're not going to pay 100,000 a month for this service. It doesn't scale for us. And so, some people really get enamored with big, expensive applications. Sometimes you have to make cost appropriate decisions, and you compromise, right? So,
Absolutely.
and it's more important when you have small budgets. You really need to make sure uh, you're spending your money wisely. And and so there is one slide. I do one more slide I want to share. It's the financial discussion that I end up having with the CEOs, because unfortunately, it ends up being the responsibility of IT to compensate for the communication inadequacies of the business units. And this applies to their project priorities, the new initiatives, as well as functions they may have outsourced, right, under the cover of darkness. And so we chase the money, we develop a list of all technology spend, regardless of who is charged with the invoices. And that's my little job. Oh, here's my little job path that I created in Excel I use with HR, and just to show people, hey, there is a career path within these different families, but these are unique resources with unique skills. Anyway, just a little side thing. But I build a spreadsheet then, and I find every possible service, every possible technology spend, regardless of who is charged with the invoices. And I'm not talking about a copy of the IT budget, because the IT budget is not going to show your total tech spend. It's only going to show what is hitting the IT cost center. These costs may or may not be in the IT budget, depending on the company's culture and how they track cost. But I find it all. I find every consultant, every service, every software license, every contract, and they get categorized in a variety of ways. And here's my example. I'll have every service listed with who's the invoicing vendor, what's the purpose or function of the service or the software, what type of application is it? Is it a business application? Is it infrastructure, an end user tool, or something else? What type of computing service is it? Is it infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, or something else? Where is the data stored? Is it on cloud, on-prem, or somewhere else? Maybe we've pushed it off to a third-party vendor. Who manages it from IT? Who's the user that owns it, or really should be sponsoring it? And what's the annual cost and the contract duration or renewal time frame? And I do this at every customer. This can be a financial forensic exercise. It requires access to account payable detail as a starting point. And I usually request 3 years of AP transactions. Why 3 years? Because many hardware agreements, if you have network devices, they may have a 3-year spend on them, or you buy a 3-year license with your firewalls. And so I want to find out when all the contracts are expiring and when they renew, so I can start building a rolling 3-year budget for these organizations. It's even better if the companies have electronic copies of invoices. So I can actually, I print off a lot of paper. I want to see the line item detail on exactly what is being purchased. Cloud spend can escalate very quickly, and you need to see the details of what you're purchasing. If you've looked at an Azure or a Microsoft invoice, some companies will just measure that, oh, it's 70,000 a month. Okay, well, what is that really made up of? There may be a component there that's fairly predictable. It's based on a user monthly fee, but what's happening with our compute? What's happening with our storage cost? Those can drastically go up. And in Azure, you have middleware costs. You may have logic apps or other tools within Azure you're using, and those are all charged based on your consumption. So I build a giant spreadsheet. It may have 100 to 200 rows in it of everything I can find with an annual cost. And the fun part is when you sit down with the CFO and the CEO and you start slicing and dicing, and you say, let's just sort this based on and filter it based on marketing spend around the e-commerce website, or how much are we spending on BI tools and reporting, or storage and compute within Snowflake. And suddenly this IT total spend starts taking on a different life, because it's not just a big IT cost, it's really tying costs to deliverables. It's about treating IT as an investment. And my goal here, when I go through the cost, it's not to provide answers necessarily, it's just to expose the complete cost. And then the conversation continues, but now it's with objective, and it's an objective data-based approach instead of emotion. You take the emotion out of it. It's just, hey, here's what we spend. Doesn't matter to me. I'm a third-party consultant, right? Are you getting the value out of the spend, right? And these are all business initiatives. no IT initiatives, because nothing on my spreadsheet would exist if the business did not exist, right? And so I make that point very clear, and I tie these costs back to which business unit is using them. Is it for the store? Is it for a distribution center? Is it for an e-com website? Is it for supporting our commercial accounts? And so you try to tie back costs to revenue, and are we spending money on the most strategic important things? Those are all the slides I have. So I'm going to stop sharing here and answer any questions, unless you want me to jump back to another slide and someone has a question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the biggest objections that you get when you start through this process? What are the things that you've gotten very methodical in the way that you've answered these and put your slides together, right, for each client? But what seems to be the biggest inhibitor, and then what are most companies looking for you to answer? Is it similar, or is it really dissimilar per company?
Every company is truly unique. That they really are. At my last engagement with Cavender's, the prior CIO had been given a lot of rope. He had a really decent budget. How he was spending his money was interesting. A lot of large enterprise investments that added complexity, and complexity drives cost. And so I really questioned some of their spend. They were surprised at what they were spending on some of their services. And so that was and they had a very, very complex middleware layer they had developed using multiple redundant tools. And so I'm trying to help them with, here are some things when the contract ends we can get rid of. We can optimize by consolidating some of the spend. Organizationally, when I show up, it depends why I'm there. As a fractional or an interim, it gives an opportunity to the company to make a very thoughtful decision on their future CIO, right? And so those typically take 3 to 5 months for a search, and that's my typical time frame at a company, 3 to 5 months. And so in that time frame, I'm not going to fix their problems, right? There may be some things I'm going to go after. There may be specific tactical personnel issues that I have to deal with, or specific people that might need to be hired. Most companies want to wait until the CIO is on board, the future CIO, so they can make their hiring decisions, and I respect that. But I'll at least help them with some organizational thoughts. I want to make sure that I leave with a full budget. But to get back to your question, what are some of the pain points? Sometimes sharing the accounts payable data they don't want to do, or they'll share it for IT, but they don't want me to see what marketing is spending. And so, I tell them, look, I don't want any salary information. I'm just trying to find all technology spend. I don't really care. And so I try to soft sell it as, I'm not here to make anyone's life miserable. I'm just trying to find all the places we're spending money, right, and making sure that it's people are aware of it. And I try to find out, when those contract renewals are going to take place, so that when a CIO does show up, he kind of has a roadmap of what are my pain points, right? That's kind of my gift to the CIO is, hey, here's all of your spend, here's your primary vendors, here's some renewals that are coming up, here are some things that maybe we're not ready to renew, and you may need to do a quick RFP or evaluate some solutions if some things are kind of end of life. But it's usually, people get protective of their little domain, and the marketing departments right now, they are being given more freedom, especially if there's an e-commerce perspective or an omnichannel organization. Marketing runs a lot of that, and they all have outside agencies. Sometimes those outside agencies want the POS data or other data. They want Google Analytics from the website or pixels, and then they're pulling that data off off to their own data warehouse when maybe it becomes redundant. Okay, if I have a data warehouse and I already have the data, why not just use what I have? Or write reports against it? Why stand up another source of data that I may have to back up or protect or keep private? And so some companies, some marketing heads don't like that when they're giving up some of what they've started to build.
Yeah, it's because they have their own budgets and
Yeah.
they don't want to ask an IT professional for permission to do it when they have a budget and they have a goal that they need to do. I'm sure you
Yeah.
see this a lot, is that some parts of departments work faster than others. Marketing usually is working in the CEO or someone, a customer comes to you and says, we have this problem and we need you to fix it. And between marketing and IT, there's the infrastructure stuff that needs to be fixed, but marketing is usually kind of on the front line. So that's why CMOs like myself, we've been given our own budget and our own tactics to be able to kind of create technology around that. But to your point, it should be collaborative and it shouldn't be redundant, especially on the data side, because a person like me, as a fractional CMO coming in like you, I'm asking for all of this data. And if they cannot supply that to me, there's a lot of work that I have to do internally, like you, to be able to analyze their environment and try to come up with what is your current ROI? What is your current spend? Are you actually making profit? What are your margins? Things like that. And then who are you going after and why are you going after? So like you, it's justifying that budget and trying not to make it a cost center and more of a tied to an outcome type thing. And we're constantly having to justify every penny that we spend. So.
Yeah. I really do find myself partnering with the CMOs most times. At two of my past engagements, they were launching brand new loyalty programs, right? And going from points based or from a dollar based to points based or vice versa. They needed to do something with all their old loyalty data. In one case, no one had even started working on that yet. And so I really partner with the marketing guys. And I said, look, I'm not here to take things away from you. I'm here to help. I just want to make sure that we're doing it effectively, and at the cheapest, the least expensive way of doing it, and just the most effective. And I just want the company to be successful. So omnichannel has a lot of challenges, and so there are no shortage of ideas. But someone has to say, okay, how are the reverse logistics going to work if we have returns and this product came from a third-party vendor, but that we're selling it on our website, but we never take physical possession of it. It's consignment stock, and so someone has to ask the questions, and just so that it gets answered. But CMOs and IT groups are very, very. They need to be aligned.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Joe or Bersabe, do you guys have any questions for Mark?
I had a different flavor of one of Emily's questions about what sort of barriers. And I think my question to Mark would be worded something like this. As you go into these organizations, do you see legacy thinking? You talked about turfs. I'm sure turfs is always an issue, but do you see sort of legacy thinking and inability to get out of the box and sort of reimagine their next steps forward using technology as enabler? And how do you deal with getting them educated and thinking more energetically about what the future could look like for the organization?
No, that's a great question, and yes, I do see that, especially if an organization is fairly mature and has had low turnover with long tenured employees. They do not want to change. One past customer, they had a merchandising application that was over 20 years old. They were still running an older version of it. The merchandising department absolutely loved it. But it caused havoc for the rest of the company. It was not, we could not keep data aligned between the merchandising system and the other sources of truth, right? So the merchants would use the merchandising information to place orders with the vendors. And so they saw their merchandising system as the source of record for what is our inventory.
Wow. Okay.
But then you have all this inventory in distribution centers. It's being counted at the warehouse. It gets shipped to stores. It's being counted at the stores. But all of those were on different applications, and we could not keep them in alignment. And so the merchants are looking at one inventory level. The distribution center guy is looking at his inventory level. The stores are looking at their inventory level. And then you have this omnichannel aspect where the website, okay, I want to shop your store. If I drive to Home Depot, I want to make sure that little packet of screws is on the rack. Same thing with retail. So, you need to make sure your inventory is correct and you're presenting it correctly to customers and you're replenishing it correctly. And so that was a big challenge. And yeah, that was a big challenge. And actually, they were going to upgrade their merchandising system to a slightly newer version. But they were going to do something very bad. They were going to take one on-prem component and move it in the cloud and leave the rest of the on-prem stuff on-prem and build new integrations between the cloud and on-prem version that the vendor of the software had never done before. And I just said, look, this is going to be a train wreck. You think you have inventory problems now? You're going to be an inventory nightmare if you separate this old software now into two pieces. And they didn't even have a financial ERP. And so I said, you need to address your financials, get your financials correct first, and then deal with your merchandising system instead of the other way around. And so that took about 3 months of a lot of conversations with the COO and the CEO, and even finally the chief merchant got on board, and she understood that, okay, yeah, we need to stop this project. And so we killed the project. But it's hard. These are hard things to do. The beauty of coming in as an interim, hey, I don't have to live with this. I can speak the truth. I can give my best advice. Here's why I believe the way I believe. Here are your alternatives. To your choice, but it's going to be our decision, not my decision, because I'm not going to be here in 2 months or 3 months or 5 months. Someone else is going to be, but I want them to be successful. I want you guys to be successful. So I fall in love with my customers because I just enjoy business and I enjoy these brands. And so I want them to do well. But
Awesome.
yeah, you have to deal with it.
Very good. Well, Bersame, I know you're there. Do you have any questions for Mark?
Yes, great presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, Mark. Just a few things here. 2 things. What do you think is going to be the greatest challenge in the next coming years? And maybe even integrate a little bit of AI in that. And is there a time that you remember that you have advised a company and they kind of were reluctant of taking that advice and they kind of had to pay dearly?
I'm going to make sure I understand the last question. Is there a time I advised a company and what happened?
And they did not take your advice and they kind of had to learn.
Yeah, they're yeah, my very first engagement was one of those where the CEO, he knew what he wanted my answer to be. But I didn't quite agree with him. It was private equity based, and he wanted a certain answer to be given to the private equity ownership, and my answer was different. And so I made some suggestions it was around organization and some technology challenges, and they decided, to not go down that path. We cut the engagement, and they wanted the IT group to report to the CFO, and within a year, the IT manager that I told him, hey, he's a flight risk. You need to make sure you have coverage. He moved on and left them kind of in a lurch. And so they've actually brought our company back in over the last year to help them again. But that was my first engagement really with Fortium, and I learned that I should have been more forceful and speak more truthfully. So that I felt like almost it was a failure on my part because I wasn't able to get the message across in the right way. And so the framework I share tonight actually is just something I've just kind of created over the last couple of years based on how that engagement went. I needed something simpler that I could just sit down with the CEO and they could easily understand, and put it in a framework where they could see, oh yeah, I get it. Why? I mean, it seems like marketing, they're off hiring people, finance is off hiring people. No one wants to hire IT people, or they think an IT person is multi-talented, and we're just all masters of all trades, and we aren't. IT's become so specialized. It's difficult. And to answer your very first question, I think the biggest challenge, it's all about AI right now. Either because of how quickly it's evolving, or every CEO is reading about it, they're hearing about it. They want to know, what's AI going to do for us? And companies are still dealing with technical debt, right? And so if you're going to start building AI onto data, and the data is not normalized, it's not rationalized, you don't have good master data definitions, you don't have all of your calculations normalized. People talk about sales, and the finance team will say, well, why aren't your sales numbers out of your IT report matching our sales number? It's like, I don't know. Tell me, what does your sales number include? Is it sales? Does it show discounts? Does it have coupons? Does it reflect returns? Does it reflect employee purchases? Does it reflect theft, loss? I mean, what is a sale? And so companies have to agree on terminology and data definitions. And if you don't have those things, and you just stand up AI and you open it up the kahuna to people, they can make bad decisions more quickly. And so, you can't escape technical debt. At some point, you have to deal with it. And but we can't say no to all AI. And so they need to be very tactical, and make sure they're just well done. Don't make decisions on a proof of concept. I've never seen a project not get the green light, or fail when it's only in one location. You start growing it to 5, 10, 15 locations, and then you start finding the problems, right? So some people move too quickly. The POCs are not complete enough, or the benefits aren't defined prior. And it's not about, I've never seen headcount reductions happen because of an IT project. They always find out new uses for the accountant that was going to go away. So you look at, what's the real ROI to the company. But everything's about AI right now, and so IT organizations, we're looking for AI from our vendors, right? The cybersecurity services are using AI to make better decisions more quickly on breaches and correlation of events. I'm not going to build that. I need my vendors to build those types of capabilities. I don't, I'm not at Toyota where I have 1,000 people, and we can stand up an AI team. I just want to make sure we have an AI policy that we're following within the company, right? We may not even have an AI policy. Employees need to know that, oh, here's our policy. If you go off the range and do your own thing and expose company proprietary information, you may be fired, right? People, so sometimes it's still crawl, walk, run. Some people want to run too fast, and the CEOs all want to run.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, this has been a fascinating conversation. I think once we have it recorded, you could use this to introduce yourself to a new client, and they'd hire you in a minute. So very good job today. I appreciate the depth at which you came to this with, and answering all the questions. So you're welcome to stay with us. We're going to go through some of the business stuff that we have to do, talk about our next two speakers, which hopefully you'll come and harass them whenever they're speaking.
I will definitely try. I'm going to probably exit and let you guys do your business.
All right.
But thanks so much for having me. Appreciate
Yeah,
it. It's been fun.
appreciate
Great
it.
evening.
And
Thanks, Mark.
next time we get together for lunch, remind me to tell you what happened when I asked for the financials at a nonprofit I was serving on. It was a fun ride.
That is funny.
All right,
Okay.
buddy.
Have a good evening.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you.
Bye.
All right, so we're going a little bit long here, but I just wanted to go ahead and talk about the speakers that are coming in February and in March. Diana Stepner, I met her through LinkedIn. She has a series of posts that she's been doing. One of them was called "We Are Builders Now," and it really is the culmination of what's happening in the Silicon Valley, where program management and product management are kind of giving way to engineers doing it themselves, which I think at some level makes sense, right? Because once you have a process that everybody's living with, then it makes it a lot faster for having fewer conversations with people that are actually doing the work. And I think that's kind of the net of her conversation. But she's a well-known coach in the Silicon Valley, and I'm looking forward to hearing from her February 12th. Jason Buffington, back in 2007 or 8, whenever I was at Microsoft, Jason was running Data Protection Manager as a product, which was the first of the System Center products. And so I've known him for quite a while. We also were connected through Scouts. I have an Eagle Scout. He has a couple of Eagle Scouts. And he's just an awesome guy. He's been doing data protection his entire career. So he's kind of as I say, he's the OG of data protection. We're actually going to have Jason come when we are having our first in-person meeting in March. So looking forward, Jason, for you to present what you've been doing and what you're learning about data protection. I do want to thank everybody on the board. Emily, I've already given everybody the kudos that I shared for you. Akshay doing a great job as a founder, treasurer, and now secretary. Harish as a founder. Chris Savage, we're actually going to have a vote on this, but I think we already sort of voted for it in December before he had decided he was actually going to do it. So we'll have a vote on it, but Chris is an awesome guy. He was an RLF graduate from mine from a long time ago and has been on the AITP board before. When we were at AITP Dallas, he actually set up the website as we moved into ABTP. Shankar Subramanian, a member at large. Joe, education chair and owner of the product, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And Brian Williams, organizing our docs and taking on special projects. So it's a great team, and I really appreciate you guys. We also have some great partner members, Karthik Pachai at Augusta, Keith Thode at AdvancedNet Labs. Keith is here in the back of the corner at our holiday party. Jordan was there for Karthik. And I think Kumar from O2 Cyber had a soccer match or something going on that Saturday morning. So he was at the place that he needed to be, as you guys all know that have kids. And then Brian Howard with Job Seeker Pro. Emily is also a partner of ours with her consulting company, and does all of the things that she's doing for us, making the slides look so awesome and everything else for other companies as well as a fractional CMO. And I think you have a services group as well too, correct? Yeah. She said yes, even though you couldn't hear her. All right, so we took a little bit of time to look at our mission and vision. And Emily, you want to talk a little bit about that? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Oh, I don't have a lot to talk about mission and vision. It's
You
just
don't have
that
to.
we're we're planning on growing, and our focus is on you. So it's just here on the slide.
Love it. Thanks. From a membership perspective, we have some incredible history behind us, but we also have some extraordinary value to provide. We look to be the central hub for IT professionals across North Texas, really Texas, because AITP, we're the first chapter. The reason we signed up as Lone Star is because Bill Fly at the time when we did it was in Houston. He still is. We have a member in San Antonio that is considering joining the board, and we have our first out-of-state partner, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But we're looking for it to be a trusted community for leadership, learning, and networking. Over 10,000 on-demand courses, and we're serving executive students and emerging professionals. We set some goals. I'll let you just look over these. A lot of the things that we're goaling on are things that we've been in the past. 15 years ago, we had an AITP chapter at every university and junior college across the state of Texas and most of the country. That is why CompTIA bought/took over AITP, because they wanted access to those student chapters back in the day when they took it over. So a lot of what we're becoming is a recasting, a reimagining how we can be in this new digital age. So Joe, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to talk through or do a demo of our Work Ready Academy. So you want to take over sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me do that now. So an incredible resource that we have through our Advanced Net Labs partnership is access to almost 10,000 online courses. It can be a little overwhelming when you go through the catalog because there's, being IT focused, obviously there's topics around technology and coding. There's also topics around project management. There's office skill, what I'll call office skills or soft skill training, how to communicate, how to negotiate, how to build relationships and trust. I even found regulatory training. As a financial services guy, I was glad to see training around money laundering and data privacy regulations in Europe. So one of the great things we plan to do this year and here in the next few months with AITP Lone Star is actually begin to create opportunities for our members and potential guests to earn certificates. And over time, we'll mature those certificates into certifications. So when I say certification, think about something like a PMP from the Project Management Institute. It's based not only on experience, but also the ability to train and pass certain knowledge test. But what I'll start with tonight is a focus on the Work Ready Academy website, which we will begin to customize. All of the courses that I just mentioned are available through the Work Ready website. Out of the box, it comes with default pathways. I'll just start maybe with this first one, AI Basics. If you click on that, it doesn't like my browser a whole lot, so I'll force it to, whoops, see if it comes up here. Perfect. And so this one's pretty interesting. It's a series of small micro learnings that are published by a company called Gravo, which is a cornerstone organization. Each one is a minute to 10 minutes and covers, various topics just around what is artificial intelligence and what does it mean, and, what are some concerns or especially around ethics. So maybe if I go to continue here, what is artificial intelligence? It's not all slide presentations, there are videos. So I'll flip through here to get to what I think is the video. Right, and you get some practice exercises. Whoops, blew that. All right, key terms and terminology, again by Gravo, which does lots of micro learning opportunities. I'll go back to, see if I can go back to one of these others here. Okay, completed that one.
You're just that good, Joe.
So some of them do have nice videos.
We can't hear her. I think you would have had to have selected share audio when you came in.
Yeah, I probably failed to do that. So
That's
we don't
okay.
want to watch her
We get the
2-minute
idea.
video, but you sort of get the idea of the micro learning step by step. At the end of this, we could add quizzes and things that allow you to earn certificates. As Mike indicated, right, we want to be able to publish those certificates and over time mature these into certifications. As I spent some time doing some research into the curriculum, there's over 110 hours of training on artificial intelligence within the program from Advanced Net Labs. And what I'm contemplating, I'm going to propose back to my board member peers, and I'll send out details, is a couple of certificates. An obvious one as a technology guy, like coding with AI. It's a very interesting training opportunities on use Python and build it and chat GTP and build a chat bot, for example, for your friends and peers. Others might be things that executives or leaders want, like what are the AI basics? What's the difference between a large language model and machine learning? And again, just provide 30 minutes to an hour of training for somebody to maybe to earn a certificate to get that overview. What are the key terminologies? How do things come together? A focus on generative AI. That's a big topic. And I can very easily see 3 tracks within generative AI. One is writing. Another might be building presentations, your PowerPoint slides, your conversations. The other is audio video work, again, around generative AI tools that just continue to advance every day. Another great topic might be prompt engineering. And it's understanding how to build great prompts so that you can protect yourself from hallucinations, as people refer to them, so that you get better, more crisp answers. And then finally, I'm going to propose a track around AI ethics, which would include not only the ethical uses of AI, but understanding the regulatory landscape and how it's evolving in the US and Europe, or data privacy concerns. And again, at the end of each of these tracks, get a nice certificate of completion. And over time, if we can build, and we will build enough of these certificates, we'll create certifications for people at various stages of their careers and give them the AITP Lone Star stamp.
Very good, Joe. I really appreciate that. So when do you think we'll be able to do our first certificate? Just a guess.
Just a guess. I would think by the end of March. So a
Okay.
little bit of a timeline. I'm going to propose the curriculums back to you if that's all good. Then we'll work with Advanced Net Labs to get them into pathways, our pathways, and put certificate development on the end of them. Now they may be able to get it done faster than I think,
Right.
Mike. And if they do, then certainly maybe we're ready here in February.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about it is one of the reasons that Keith wanted to partner with us from the very beginning is that they provide this Work Ready Academy to multiple high schools and colleges. So with the AITP brand on it, he believes it's more valuable. We think it's more valuable. And then so if people start buying certifications through the portal, regardless of channel, we will get funding back through that channel for us to do great things with our members. So it's all good, and it literally is a win-win-win, right?
Absolutely.
For Advanced Net Labs, for us, and for the individuals that are doing it. One thought too: a leader that has a small organization and doesn't have a huge budget, they could join as a corporate member for $500. And then that will allow them to have 3 or 4 people have access to this. It's a lot less expensive than the LinkedIn education, for instance, because that's
Yes,
$29 a month.
per person. Yeah.
Yeah, per person. So anyway, good stuff. Thank you very much. And we'll continue on here. One of the things that Emily talked about earlier is that we're going to be doing some in-person events with our partners. This one came along without us even planning it. Augusta is doing, and Augusta is one of our gold partners, is doing a test queue AI launch. And basically what this test queue product that they are selling does is it turns requirements, recordings, and design files into ready-to-run tests in minutes so your team can evaluate features the same day they're built. So it does some things on training as well. So it's very worthwhile if you're a CIO, CTO, QA VP, or director to come to this event. All you need to do is scan this little thing right here. It's going to be at Calabrese's, the event is. So it's a great event place, great food. You'll meet them, and then multiple of us from the board will be there as well. So we're making it a tech talk event from AITP as well as the product launch for Augusta. So great stuff. And that is on the 21st of January, just a couple of weeks from now. I am a partner as well, and I provide relationship acceleration, cultural acceleration, dev operations and team topologies acceleration, and program and change acceleration. The thing that I'm most excited about right now, I have a new contract to do team topologies, which is sort of a shortened, scaled agile, if you think about it like that, with change management and communications. So that's the kind of stuff I do. I am actually providing a free team assessment or a self-assessment to anybody that is a member of AITP. So you just call me at 214-621-6285. Emily, you want to talk about your business and your slide?
Sure. Let me see if it will let me share.
Okay.
Present in Teams.
You have a new and improved slide. Here, I'll stop sharing so you can share.
Not letting me do it. Well, I'll just talk about my business. So I have EBW Consulting. I've had it for a little over a year now. Well, I guess about a year and a half. I function as a fractional CMO, and I also have a digital marketing practice. But on top of that, I can consult on digital transformation as well as AI best practices. For the past year, I have been running an AI company called Marketing Assistant, where we built a technology where you put your URL in and it would create an entire month's worth of content in minutes rather than months of research. It was a pretty cool project that I was working on, but I'm starting to work with some VC firms now to be able to help launch new brands for the different companies that they're launching in the next couple of years. So that's pretty exciting. But I'm looking for small and mid-sized companies to be able to help you at a fraction of the cost, to be able to have the expertise of an over 20-year CMO who's worked with over 70 brands in 17 industries. I have a lot of insights and can work very quickly to be able to identify issues in your organization and be able to assign your go-to-market strategy. On top of that, digital transformation, being able to talk to you about AI best practices, to be able to help you adopt new technologies in a responsible manner, as well as AI adoption and cybersecurity. I wrote a cybersecurity guide for small businesses a couple of years ago with the Plano Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to have courses and elaborate on that this next year. So I'm laser focused on helping small and mid-sized businesses being able to prove operations, and I'd love to be able to help you guys as well. I'm a gold partner. I'm the CMO here, and as all of the marketing that you've kind of seen in the last year for AITP, all of that was created by myself and my team. I'm happy to be here, and I hope that I'm able to help some of our members out.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Emily. I don't know if you noticed it, but I put CMO/strategist, because I think that you bring to the table much more than a traditional marketing person, at least in my experience. So thank you for that. And people would be well advised to use your services.
Appreciate that.
Job Seeker Pro has been a partner for a long time. Brian at Job Seeker Pro is his email address, but if you go to jobseeker.pro/AITP, he's created a special career training guide that helps you to kind of get yourself centered on what it is that you want to do. It's free of charge, so go check it out at jobseeker.pro/AITP. He publishes things on our LinkedIn page and on our Facebook page, so you can follow him as well, because he's always putting out great information. And that brings us really to the end of the evening tonight. What I want to do finally is, again, I know Mark's not here, but I really appreciated his presentation. The depth of thought behind it was incredible. And I think, people that use him are getting a lot of value for the short time that he's in those organizations. Likewise, I think AITP is providing some value that will continue to help you grow your career. I know it's helped me grow mine. If you go to www.aitplonestar.org, you can sign up. There are multiple levels there. If you're interested in sponsoring, you can do that without talking to us. Usually people want to talk about it. So you can contact me or Emily, Joe, or any of the board members to get that conversation started. And remember, join us. Go ahead and write it down now, February 12th. You can go to AITPlonestar.org and sign up for that event now too. And that's kind of our new model. We're trying to bring everybody to our webpage. This recording of this event will come out in the next week or two. So that's one of the services that I, as leadership provide to AITP. I'll take this video, I'll chop it down to just the speaker portion. And I will have an advertisement focus portion. We'll do those in two different ones. But anyway, you'll be able to see it via recording. And if there is anybody that you think would gain value from it, that'll be a great resource for them. Next February 12th, we'll talk with Diana Stepner, that product manager coach that I was talking about. And we're looking forward to seeing you then. So Joe or Emily or Bersabe, you guys have anything else to say?
It's been a great evening. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you very much. And good night and Godspeed. All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.